Good afternoon and welcome to the Q&A webinar with Dorothy Brown and Tisha Delgado, brought to you by the CourtFiling.net team and the Chicago Paralegal Association. My name is Marcus Nairo and I am the brand manager for CourtFiling.net. Before we begin, I want to let you know that this webinar will be recorded so you can share with your colleagues or review any sections if desired. A quick background on myself: I'm from Arlington Heights, Illinois. I come from a family of attorneys, and I have worked in the legal industry for 8 years now. I saw the frustrations that are associated with some of the processes, and that's what got me into the legal tech side of things and working for CourtFiling.net. For those who aren't aware of CourtFiling.net, it's an electronic filing service provider that assists attorneys and paralegals by providing them an easy e-filing experience. I want to note that a big part of my job is to provide assistance to attorneys and paralegals. During the recent COVID-19 pandemic, I have been doing all that I can to help law firms, and I invite you to use me as a resource if I can be of assistance. With me today is Tisha Delgado, a senior litigation paralegal at Golan Christie Italia and the president of the Chicago Paralegal Association. Tisha, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Just wanted to say hi. And to make sure that people please check out our website. We are a new association, the Chicago Paralegal Association. Our website is at www.chicagoparalegals.org, and we are happy to bring this event for you with court filing.
And last but not least, our very special guest, Cook County Clerk of the Court, the Honorable Dorothy Brown and her staff. Clerk Brown, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll let you take it away from here.
Thank you, Marcus, and thank all of you for being here. We are happy to be able to provide you with information concerning the Clerk of the Court and its operations during this very, very stressful time for all of us. I'm hoping that all of you are being safe and practicing your social distancing and the like. Of course, as Clerk of the Court, we have to continue to ensure access to justice to everyone, and so, but yet protect our employees and protect our customers as well. So thank you, Marcus and Tisha, for hosting this so that we can provide information to all of you. With me on the call today is Ms. Renee Banks, our Executive Clerk for Court Operations, Sherry Chatz, who is the Chief Deputy Clerk of the Law Division, Kathy Sink, who's our Project Manager and responsible for our e-filing services, Ms. Janet Hunter, the Chief Deputy Clerk for the Civil Division, and Ms. Talitha Miller, who is the Assistant Chief Deputy Clerk for the Probate Division. I tried to bring people on and that would be able to answer some of the previous questions that you had. And we also have some answers, and for some, we have some of our answers from our other divisions, and we have our chiefs from our other divisions available for us to text questions to them if there's something that we don't have, so that we'll be able to provide you with the answer before we get off of the call. So thank you.
Of course. And would you like to start by getting into the new CCC function?
The new, which one?
The criminal function that was recently announced?
Yes, yes. Thank you, Marcus. So for attorneys, for those of you that are licensed attorneys, we actually implemented a new ability for you to access criminal cases online through a special portal for licensed attorneys only. You have to register, and once you register, you receive an email to validate your email, and then you have to go back into the site to then request access. And during that requesting access process, you're going to be asked to agree to terms and conditions and a privacy policy surrounding your use of the data, and the fact that it is not for you to sell data, it's not for you to publicize it, but it's for you to use as licensed attorneys. So you're going to agree to that. And then we have we say a 24 to 48 hours or 1 to 2 day turnaround for approving your registration. But we've been pretty much getting it done within a day or less. We are able to go to the ARDC, a database that we have to verify that you are indeed an Illinois licensed attorney. If you put your Cook County attorney code in, that gives us another source in which to check to see if you are a licensed attorney as well. So it is an option for you to put that in, but it's a special portal that has been put in place for you, and that's through the approval of the Chief Judge of Cook County. Now, Marcus, do you want me to go through the questions? Do you want me to just go over the different services that we have, or do you want me to answer it during the question and answer process?
So we'll have a question and answer section coming up in a little bit. I just wanted to give you the opportunity there to discuss that CCC online function. And I have a slide up as well that has links to some of the resources that you've provided on your page. I'm going to be sharing the slideshow with everyone who's attending, so I'll be sure to, where you can access any of that information there, read more about it if you would like.
Very good.
So I think we're probably ready to move on, unless there's anything else you want to add, we can move on to the question and answer section.
No, that's fine.
Okay, great. So I want to thank everyone for submitting their questions beforehand. Those questions will be read by Tisha and I. If you think you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the Zoom Q&A function, and if there's time permitting, we will go ahead and answer those. But let's start off with Clerk Brown. How's your staff doing with all that is going down?
Well, it's been very, very challenging for us. We have gone through a lot of different iterations of staffing. Of course, I have 1,400 employees, and we had to first figure out what our need was going to be based upon the a number of customers that were coming in, and also based upon the hearings that were going to be occurring with based upon the different presiding judges, especially on the criminal side, because the public defender and state's attorney, of course, were working together to ensure that as many low-level offenders as possible could be actually, they had bail review hearings for them to see how we could reduce the number of people at risk in the jail. So we've had challenges there, but all in all, my staff is doing well. The majority are working from home. However, we have a lot of them who have laptops at home who are doing the work from home, except rejecting, actually answering customers' inquiry because they have access through VPN to our electronic docket. So we are doing everything that we can to keep the services going, and we have a skeleton crew in every location. In the Daily Center, I made the decision to consolidate into 2 floors, all of the divisions, and then reduce the staff even more because I just was and continue to be and very concerned about people putting themselves at risk, even though this is an essential service. These are essential services. The lives of my employees and, of course, the customers, they come first in my book. So, but we're doing what we can, and people are somewhat nervous in coming to work, but they're doing what they need to do.
So let's go through some of those questions. We did find on your website, there was a graphic about the limiting in-person contact at the courthouse. You have this very helpful document on what remote access services are available. We have it pulled up here, and I just wanted to walk through it with you. So we do know documents are still being e-filed, and even on this document here, we have that we can still receive copies of documents or certified copies of documents. Do we
Now,
just need to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Now, let me say this, for the e-filing, we want people to know that because e-filing was reduced significantly, and I think that people thought that for some reason that e-filing was not available. We want to stress that e-filing continues to be available. The dates, of course, that they will be given will be further out because we programmed the e-filing system to give court dates based upon the extension that the chief judge has given. So we want to urge people to continue to e-file. We have people reviewing and accepting and rejecting documents, so they can do that. So the email service, the copies, and you were asking me a question about that?
Yes, if we needed to get documents from the court docket or certified copies, do we need to just email the division that we're seeing? You know, we've got all the division emails here. Is there a central one for if we're needing to get records?
No, it's not. There's not a central one. You want to email the particular division in which you're trying to get your documents from. And it's better to email versus calling. Of course, you can call, but you know that it's better to email. I have a very small staff there, and it's better to email. My staff is keeping up with those every day. Now, for these certified copies, that's for the flat stamps only. If you need a raised stamp, if you're a person or a company that you're getting the certified copy for requires a raised stamp, then you're going to have to make an appointment, and we can get to the appointment only services later. You'll have to make an appointment to come into the office, but you can make that appointment through emailing as well.
Okay. And then what kind of, well, if we needed to get these copies, it's only documents that have already been imaged, documents that are already on the docket, correct?
Okay, so when it comes in through e-filing, it comes in as an image. Since 2009, we have been, we started with Chancery before the e-filing system, imaging documents. So for Chancery, there's a time period that each of the different locations have that we have complete images of files. I believe it was 2014 is when all of the divisions, including the criminal division, the only area that there's a small group that's not imaged is in traffic for those traffic tickets. Major traffic tickets are actually imaged as well. So, so you can get pretty much everything has been imaged over the years. If in fact it's an old case, then of course you can contact our office. We do have a skeleton crew at our record center that can actually find that document, find that file for you, and they have the ability to back scan the entire document, entire file, send that to our offices, and then they can actually get that to you as well. That would just take a little longer because that would not already be in the system.
And what is your turnaround time? If we've sent a request to get maybe a new complaint or an answer to a complaint that was just filed, what's your turnaround time?
Now, if it's a new complaint and you e-filed it, no, that's automatically there. That comes in as an electronic image. And it would just be based upon how many requests are in front of you, that time frame. So there's no particular turnaround time from the reports, and I get a report every day as to the number of email requests and how many we were able to fill. And for the most part, most of my divisions are actually indicating that they're filling their every email request same day. That's not to say that they would continue to be able to do that depending on the number of requests, but it's been going pretty well so far.
Okay. And if we do need to request a document, we find the division that we need to request it from. Say if it's just a civil case, so we're going to maybe the civil division email. Do you need the case number, the case name? What kind of information do we need to give to the clerk so that they can find it fast?
Absolutely. We're going to need the case number, preferably the case number, because you know people have similar names. And it may be where the petitioner and the respondent can be the same, but it may be two different. They might have sued each other before.
Yes.
So you want to give us as much information as possible. Of course, it's on the criminal side. If it's possible to give us birth dates, because you know people have aliases and very similar names, then you want to give us that. You know, we'll make an attempt. Now, let me say this. The best thing for you to do on the civil side, before you contact us, if you have only the name, go into the electronic docket on the website and get the case number. Because if you have that case number, you know that you will know that you have the right case. So go into the electronic, get the case number, and then submit your request.
Okay. And then after we've submitted the request, we've sent in the email to the clerk. The clerk we're gonna have to pay.
Yes.
What happens after we send in that request?
Okay, so then my staff will go in and they will determine how many pages there are that you need, and then they will use the statutory guidelines and calculate the cost. They will then send that information back to you and let you know how much it costs, and then tell you how to pay. Now, the pay by phone, we gave you another sheet, the by appointment. There's a pay by phone flyer that will tell you, and the clerk will tell you too. They'll send it back to you. They'll tell you the provider and the product number and the 888 number that you should use to call LexisNexis to pay with your credit card. Once you've done that, LexisNexis is going to give you a receipt. You're going to send that receipt to our employee, and then once they receive their receipt and know that you paid, they're going to send you the information.
Okay. So just to recap, to make sure that we've got it, when you are submitting a request to the clerk's office for copies of documents from the court file or certified copies, send in your information with case name, case number. The clerk will then take the information, and of course the name of the document.
Yes, if you don't want the entire file, then we need to know what document you need.
Okay, and I've got another question here. Judges' law clerks have told us that they are required to respond to voicemails within 2 hours. Is there any such goal for your office?
Yes, I'm not sure if Tisha was done, but
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, the sound may have cut out for me there. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. We did not set that kind of goal for our office. I mean, individual judges have a certain limited number of requests coming in to that particular judge. But of course, remember, we're taking care of everything. So we can't reasonably set that kind of goal. But as I said, we've been doing very well. Those requests have been coming in. We've been able to respond to them on same day. And I know that they were saying voicemails, but voicemails are fine, but it's better to use the email and not have it, because it's easier to click on an email, read your request and respond to you versus you're leaving a voicemail or attempting to get through a busy phone. So it's better to go through the email service.
Okay, and we did want to go through and show your document about the appointment information, how to for an appointment. Before we shut down, if we had any situations, I had a member that asked me if we had e-filed the summons and a summons came back that was not sealed, we usually sent someone to the courthouse to fix it. So if we have any kind of issues where we usually went manually, do we need to fix it that way, or do we make an appointment for that kind of issue?
Well, you can determine. I mean, if it's a flat seal, we can probably go into our system, print one, seal it, and send it to you by email. If you want one in person, if you want to get a copy and have us stamp it, then you will have to email us for an appointment, preferably email. We have phone numbers there, but preferably email us for an appointment. We'll set a time for you to come. We're trying to protect you and we're trying to protect the employee so that we have a limited number of people. We can all do our social distancing. When you come in, you can provide your information at a distance. We can pick that up from a distance and provide that for you, so we don't have too many people in the office. So you can call, but best to email for the appointment. You set your time, we'll set your time, and you can bring it in, or you can request. Most of the things can be requested by email. Other than that raised seal, I think pretty much everything can be done via email.
How about if we had any filings that we, like wills? If we had to open a probate estate, we always have to bring in the original will. Well, you know, we don't want to go to the courthouse unless we absolutely have to. But in that case, are we needing to still submit it?
Well, I have Talitha Miller, the assistant chief deputy clerk of probate, and she's going to explain to you all how to handle wills. Talitha?
Hi. So for the wills, we're asking that you guys mail those in to us. The original will is what we will need. And if you want a copy of it, once it gets into our office, we ask that you send us a self-addressed envelope, and you're going to send that to the Daily Center Probate Division, 50 West Washington, room 1202. Okay? Any other questions or concerns in regards to original wills?
And if they really, really wanted to bring it in, they'd have to make an appointment.
Make an appointment,
correct?
yes.
Can you elaborate on maybe what are the certain, this is what you need to make an appointment for? If you, I mean, you know, if you really want to go to the courthouse, I guess you're going to make an appointment. But you know, what kind of services, yes, you need to make an appointment and come in for that.
Well, Tisha, just from a general standpoint, you know, you probably can't, well, like I said, that raised seal, you're going to have an appointment for that. If you just want to bring the original will in, as we said, you're going to have an appointment for that. But other than that, you best to email us, and we can make the decision with you. Now, the other thing too, I can say that if you don't know how to e-file, you do not have a computer, and you cannot e-file, and you would have previously needed our assistance to help you e-file, because that is something that we have been able to do, then you will have to make an appointment to come to file your document. Now, the Supreme Court has given us the ability has indicated to us that we have to be very lenient with conventional filing. We do not have to, if you bring your document, then it's going to be conventionally filed. We are not required to assist people, to go close to people and assist them with e-filing. They will fill out an e-file exemption sheet, and they will file that document conventionally. We will not be assisting anyone with e-filing during this time. So that's one of the things that if you just don't have e-filing and you need to file a document, you make an appointment to come in to file your document conventionally.
And one of our members had a question about, they had noticed that some of the cases recently filed were not appearing on the electronic docket or were delayed in showing up. And they needed information as to who the judge was. Maybe they needed to do an emergency motion or to get a motion to appoint a special process server. Do we know what that?
Let me take, are we talking about e-file documents? Oh. And if you can hear me, so let me take those separately. Let me take emergency motions separately. And if something is not appearing on the docket that you e-filed, I'll just take that one. If something is not appearing on the docket that you e-filed, then you should send an email to that particular division and work with that particular staff. You should get the envelope number, because if you e-filed it and it went through, there should be an envelope number so that when you contact our employee, our office, you should be able to tell us the envelope number and we should be able to go in to give you that information. Now for emergency motions, Renee, I believe we were going to have the different areas. You were going to talk about that, and we were going to have the different areas to talk a little bit about how to handle an emergency motion.
Correct. Thank you, Clerk. Yeah, so emergency motions are handled differently in some of the divisions. And so I'll speak on how emergency motions are handled within the Chancery Division, Domestic, and the County Division. Currently, for emergency motion, if the motion is e-filed, you're selecting a date, and then our clerk is taking that, and this domestic relations, taking it to their PJs, and the judges are determining whether it's emergency or not. And they're also informing the clerk whether they should accept that or not as an emergency. In the in the county division, that division is we're using the Odyssey system. They're the only division that's using the Odyssey system. And what they said is that the only emergency that they're taking in that division are the adoption cases. And so those are filed as emergency motions. You would choose a date and time in which you want to go in, come into court. They would then take that motion to the presiding judge and inform her of that. And she, at that time, would then determine whether they should accept that as an emergency or not. And that would be the same thing in the Chancery Division. Actually, in Chancery, the judiciary has set up a phone number and an email to reach out for the attorney to reach out. And at that time, they determine whether it's a bona fide emergency. And if it is, they're doing Zoom conferencing for those emergencies. So with that, in the Chancery Division, the judiciary is notifying the customer whether that case is an emergency, and then they're setting up a conference. For the Civil Division and for the Probate and Law Division, I'll have Janet Hunter to talk about what they're doing in civil.
Good afternoon, this is Janet, and we're pretty much following the same process. If you're filing it through the e-file system, we require that you put a date on it, because otherwise the judge doesn't know which date you're trying to schedule your appointment to come down for. We have a clerk on staff there on site with the judge. We give the clerk that copy of that motion for the judge to review and determine if it really is an emergency. And if he determines it's an emergency, then they'll schedule a hearing. If he determines it's not an emergency, we'll respond back to the customer that the judge doesn't determine this is an emergency.
And how do we get notification?
That's why we're requesting you either email us, or if you email us, we'll email you back what the judge's determination is. And if you e-file it, there's actually contact information on there. So it'll either be by email or phone call.
Perfect. Let's keep talking about scheduling dates.
So we have, did you want to hear from Probate as well as Law Division on how they're handling emergency motions?
It's been sent out now? Sorry, have the notifications for new court dates, have they been sent out now?
Okay, Tisha, I think they were going in and out. We really didn't finish telling you how emergencies are handled for probate and law. Would you like to hear that? And then we'll tell you about the court dates. Okay?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, Talitha and then Sherry.
Okay, so for probate, our presiding judge is requesting that you file an emergency motion through our e-filing system. And what happens is that he's asking that you send a courtesy copy to his administrator, Joseph Fleming. And his email address is joseph.fleming@cookcounty.il.gov. and it has to be sent by 10 a.m. And what they will do is they will proceed to contact you to make you aware if you are able to have your motion heard, and they will be hearing their motions via Zoom. He also stated that you can contact Joseph Fleming at 312-603-7546.
Sherry?
Okay, I am here. In regards to emergency motions heard in the Law Division, I'd have to definitely reference the General Administrative Order, which was entered by the presiding judge of the Law Division on Monday, April 13th. It's 18 pages. It details the emergency motion procedures for every section of the Law Division. And you can access this General Administrative Order by visiting the Chief Judge's website at www.cookcountycourts.org. But of course, it will start with those motions being electronically filed. They have to be filed first. And again, you know, the GAO specifies the various judges or law clerks that have to be emailed with that motion that is to be heard, and the judges or the law clerks will determine if that, you know, motion is deemed an emergency. But it is a great reference tool because it covers everything to settlement orders, agreed orders, and you should definitely visit that page by page to see which is applicable to your needs at that time. But there are no on-site hearings that are being held right now. That stopped as of today. And the GAO, which is Law Division GAO 20-4, specifies everything in there. So there is no coming to the courthouse, going before a judge in 2005, as we did over the past few weeks. There's no court activity at this time.
Are they doing Zoom, Sherry, or nothing?
Yes, some are doing Zoom. Different judges are doing different things. So they're using different platforms for these hearings. And again, it depends on the type of hearing, which section in the Law Division. You know, we have various, our motions, trial sections, commercial calendars, and that GAO does specify, you know, the procedural guidelines for each section within the Law Division.
Good. Okay, Tisha, so your next question, I think, was related to court dates and
Yes.
case management. Okay. So, yes, we have programmed or are in the process of programming, depending on the general order from the different presiding judges. When we say PJs, we're talking about the presiding judges for the different divisions. We're in the process of programming the next court date for each hearing that is scheduled, that was scheduled up through today, and you know, was scheduled from I believe March 16th through May 18th. My office is doing that, and you are to get a postcard or an e-notice. If you signed up for e-notification when you e-file the particular case, then you will get an electronic notice of the next court date. If you did not, then you will receive a postcard notification. And so it's been very challenging in getting this done. I believe that we have hundreds and hundreds of thousands that we have to get out. And of course, we had already programmed most of it for the April 15th date when we got the original order for the first 30 days. And then 15 days into that, on March 30th, we received a new order extending it for the 60 days through May 18th. So if you received a postcard from our first group, then you're going to receive a new postcard pushing that date out 60 days. Originally, the general order had it pushed out for 30 days, and then the new general order pushed it all the way out to May 18th. You're going to receive a new postcard, or electronic notice, and that will be the one that you should, for which your hearing will be set.
And if we have a case that should have had a reset date and we haven't received anything yet, do we need to renotice any hearings ourselves? Should we be proactive in trying to help do that?
No, you should not, because it's going to be set based upon the general administrative order, either of the chief judge or if the presiding judge did something different. Now, some of the judges are doing their own, and it's doing it a little different, like probate. Probate is actually making sure that they manage the court call and setting a limit. And so in order to do that, they are actually setting their calls and calling attorneys or parties and working with them on the dates. And they're doing that every day. So it's taking longer for us to get that information. We cannot set it until they have come to an agreement, and then they get that information to us. Then we data enter it in, and a postcard is printed that night. So everyone has not received it yet. And so it's taking longer. A lot of the divisions, we were able to just program in the 60 days and it was done. And then we print the postcards. Some of them were not. And then also there's a difference between how we're having to handle the criminal, which is in Odyssey, and the civil, which is for the most part, other than county, in the mainframe. And so some of it on the Odyssey side, we've had to have a little bit more intervention from our staff, even though there's a process by which we can utilize. But on the mainframe side, we were able to just simply program it in and print the postcards out. But we just have to wait for some of the presiding judges to give us the dates. So it's taken a little longer. Some of you have not received it. You should receive them. Of course, if May 18th rolls around and you have not received something, then you should know that, then you should be contacting us. But know this, for the most part, you can actually know pretty much your date is 60 days from the date your original date was. And what if it falls on a weekend, then it's that following Monday, the next court business day. That's how most of them are set. And you don't have to worry that it's going to come up without you knowing about it, but know that it's pretty much 60 days. Most of them just did 60 days, one after the other, and it's flowing like that. Of course, it's going to be you realize that as people are e-filing, they're getting those 60 days too. So it's going to be really challenging when we go back. And we're going to have to all have patience. And of course, if people miss dates for whatever reason, judges are going to have a little bit more, be a little bit more lenient on individuals.
And if we have a motion that we needed to file today and get a hearing date on, are we leaving our notice of motion blank, or are we picking a first available date after May 18th?
Okay, I'm going to have Renee our executive clerk to answer that, along with the chiefs for the different divisions, because different ones have different things. Renee?
Yes, ma'am. So for the notice of motions, I'm sorry, I messed that up. The notice of motions, are we talking emergency motions or just?
No, we're just talking about motions with the leaving the blank, number 4, I think.
Okay. Yes, for those motions, yes, for different divisions. So I'm going to speak on the Chancery Division, domestic, and also the county division. And so we're asking that, yes, leave it blank for Chancery. I'm sorry. Leave it blank for Chancery. Our system now has been programmed where dates are the first available date will be after May 18th. And so we're asking you to leave it blank and then select the date from the drop down, because of course, the dates that are available will be after the 18th. Now, that will be for county, for chancery and domestic. Now for county, because they are on the Odyssey system, you must select a date, and you cannot leave it blank, because if you leave it blank, it will be rejected. So yes, we're asking you to select a date, and the date will be, again, after May 18th. For the other division, we'll go to Janet Hunter for the civil division, followed by Talitha Miller for the probate, and then Sherry Chast for law division.
Okay, this is Janet, and what we're recommending is that, yes, again, leave the date blank, because some of our court calls also have caps, and you may not know whether or not the call is full, and then select from a date from the drop-down menu. Once you do that, when our accept reject clerk gets it, they will move that little token with the date into that area for you, or in an area where you can see where the date you selected is prominently on your document. Hello?
Okay, Talitha?
I'm sorry.
Okay, we follow the same process as civil does as well. So I don't want to repeat myself and make a board. So we are following the same process. We're asking that you leave the dates blank.
Okay, I think we touched on emergency motions for a couple times, but this is the next question. How are emergency motions handled in e-filing and setting up a hearing? Do we need to reach out to the judge's clerks and schedule with them?
I think you're right. We did go through that in detail.
Okay.
Marcus, yeah. We did that before this one.
Okay.
Right.
Tisha, do you want to take the next one?
Did we finish with all of the divisions on whether your notice of motion should be blank?
Oh, we had law division did not report. Was anything different, Sherry?
No, nothing's different.
Okay. Law division, probate, leave it blank. There was only one division where, yes, you had to enter a date. Was that
Yes.
chancery?
That was county division. Hello?
Tisha, I couldn't hear you there. Would you repeat that?
Sorry, did you have the next question?
Sure. Are there any e-filing mistakes that we are making that we could correct to help out our clerks?
Okay. There are a few that are occurring, Renee, for chancery and domestic.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. For chancery, the e-file mistakes are the filer needs to separate the complaint from their summons and make sure that they add a new document and not combine them all together into one filing. For the domestic, they said to follow the prompts, and when in doubt, just contact the office for assistance. And for the county division, they're requesting that you use the appropriate filing codes that's provided and to separate your documents. We'll hear from civil, Janet Hunter, probate, Talitha Miller, and law, Sherry Chast.
For civil, some of the common things that we have, again, are the same. Separate your complaint from your summons, and that way we can make sure that your summons gets sealed. Verify the case number that you're filing under and the case number on the document is correct. Otherwise, this document will be rejected. Make sure that you have the right format. Sometimes we get the documents where it's too large and then we can't accept it either. It's not following the right protocol. And another common one we get is you're filing a document that has two conflicting dates. So if you're filing a summons and you're filing a notice of motion, both of those require a date. You need to file those separately. as well as with an appearance, because it affects your ability to get the date. And that's pretty much what we have, the commonly that would help a successful filing in the civil division.
Hi, this is Talita. So for probate, I know most people probably file into the civil areas of law, domestic law, chancery, and you have a defendant versus plaintiff or plaintiff versus defendant. Well, in the probate division, we have estate of and ray of and so on and so forth. So I think what we've been looking at is the fact that a lot of people that are filing these different estates or different decedents estates, they are putting their name instead of the estate of the individual or the guardian that they are trying to get guardianship over. And so we ask that you kind of like pay attention to that. Also, another thing that we have encountered is that when you open up an estate, you are filing, we know that it's a little difficult. You have to go back in and file for the case management date, but most people are picking motion call date. Another thing that we're experiencing is that when you're filing your appearance, most people are picking the 298 and you're not paying for your appearance. And so 9 times out of 10, we're rejecting it, but we'll pick up the phone and call you to ensure that, you know, what your issues are and what your concerns are to make sure that we are not rejecting incidentally. And that's it for probate.
Yes, and I'd have to mirror all the other comments as well. Those are things that we all, see when we're reviewing e-file documents, in addition to making sure, basic things like that the document that you're filing matches the document type that you're selecting. So because this will write to our docket, and also with documents that are being filed confidentially, as confidential, that you're making sure that you also upload the order allowing you to do so.
Did we go through all the divisions?
Yes.
Right. Just one quick question. If we have exhibits to the complaint, it's okay in your divisions if we file the complaint with the exhibits together as one document, right? We just need to separate that from the summons.
I'm going to have Janet Hunter or Sherry to answer that. Related to exhibits.
In civil, if you want the exhibits to be considered something separately, you can file them separately. But if you file them with the complete complaint, that's acceptable as well.
I think that goes across the board, and we have to just keep in mind that whatever is submitted together, you can only choose one filing type. So if you're expecting to see a docket entry that specifies that particular document, then you need to upload it separately and select a separate filing type, which would be exhibit or whatever it is that you're filing.
Does that answer that question, Tisha?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now, I saw in the chat someone had a question.
Yeah, there's been a couple coming through. It looks like we have a little bit of time left to answer those. Tisha, were there any that stuck out to you that have not been covered already?
I think we went through. I mean, people just are asking questions about similar to different counties, so it's not anything for us here. Oh, we didn't talk about citations or wage garnishment, but if we are needing to file citations or wage garnishment documents, those usually have a quick return date. Are those being heard? How are garnishments and citations being handled?
I'm going to have Janet to answer that.
Right now, again, garnishments and citations are not being heard right now because that's not necessarily considered an emergency. What is being heard is if your bank account might be frozen. I think the judges are considering some of those. So we would say if you're still filing them and you don't know which date, you can again leave that area blank so that you get the first available date that's on the drop down.
And how about agreed orders, proposed orders? I'm not sure if you all might know. It might be the judges or the specific divisions we might have to call or contact. But do you know anything about proposed orders or agreed orders, how we can drop those off or get those entered?
In the law division, again, I refer to our 18-page GAO, which is 20-4, which specifically details the procedures for agreed orders in the various sections of the law division. It will specify who those need to be emailed to for each of the sections and the procedure thereafter.
How about Chancery Division? Agreed orders?
What was that question?
How is Chancery Division handling agreed orders or proposed orders?
Renee will have to get that one from the chief, and we'll get that to you before we get off. Renee, you want to get the chief to answer, to text you that answer? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And for the civil division, we're referring those to the presiding judge's office, and they're determining how those are handled. And if he wants, I think some people are emailing them directly to the presiding judge's office.
Okay.
But just as FYI and looking at the chats, people need to know that what we talked about here relates to pro se's as well as attorneys from the standpoint of getting postcards and that sort of thing. And if you don't get a postcard, yes, once we've been able to enter all of the court dates, they will be on the website for the civil cases. And of course, for attorneys can see those through the portal for on the criminal side.
How about if we have a process server or we obtained an alias summons, but the return date has been postponed, do we need to pay for and get another summons issued with a new date?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Janet?
That's a very good question. I think that's one of the questions I actually sent to my associate, because my concern is, and I'm sure that's the current concern of everybody, if you've already paid for it and you aren't able to serve it through no fault of your own, should you be paying it like an alias summons? And I think what I did submit to Sam is that possibly after all of this is over, you may just want to file it as a summons issued and returnable as a no-fee document, but our staff will be double checking just to make sure it was something already paid for. I don't think there's any other way in our e-file system for it to go through without charging a fee. But that is a question that we have been considering, because we know that that's going to be one of the issues.
And if they already paid or, had to have an alias summons issued and maybe it was rejected or because they didn't pay for it.
And that's why we're recommending you file it as a summons, as a regular summons, because our clerks are going to look and see if there's already a summons on file. And if they see it's a summons on file and they look at the date and see that that summons was during this time, then we will be pushing those through. Even though your document might say alias summons on there, this is going to be something that we're going to have to adapt our staff to be on the lookout for, because this is something that, this is not a planned situation.
Okay.
So we'll be coming up with various processes, Tisha, along the way to make sure that no one is disadvantaged as a result of this pandemic, which is no fault of anyone's, and we're all just simply doing this the best we can and trying to make it work the best that we possibly can. So obviously we're going to have to be handling things on a case-by-case basis.
Clerk Brown, I have the answer for you, the question
Yes.
for Chancery, agreed
Yeah.
orders.
Mhm.
So in Chancery, the agreed orders are being sent to the judge, to go to the judge first. They're reviewing it and signing those orders at their home, sending it, emailing it to our office. We're stamping those. The law clerk is then sending those back to the customer for once the judge has signed it.
So are people emailing those into the law clerk or our office?
To the judge.
They're emailing, there's an email that the judge has set up to receive
Yes.
them?
Yes.
That's the similar process in the law division as well.
And of course, things can change if we get another order that says come May 18th, we are changing it all again just to give you some fun.
Then I'll have over 500,000 postcards to send out again, right?
Oh my gosh.
Right, you know, it's really blowing my postage budget.
So Clerk Brown, I see that there's a lot of questions surrounding criminal.
Yes, I see them. Well, on the criminal side, we do not have e-filing for criminal. That, you know, once we get we have the new case management system in, we're working on the new case management system for civil. Once this Odyssey is in place for all of the clerk's office, then we'll be in a position to move to e-filing for both criminal and traffic. The Illinois Supreme Court has approved that a clerk's office can move to e-filing for criminal and traffic. And that's going to be a simpler process since e-file Illinois is on Odyssey and our new case management system is also on Odyssey. But right now, it is not available. I would expect, I can't give a date on that. Of course, my last day is November 30th. It won't be before November 30th of this year. And I can't really say when that will go into place in 2021 or 2022. It should not be that difficult. So I expect that it should be something that could be done. On the criminal side for images, let me say this, e-file, the Odyssey case management system, Tyler Technologies, if you will, is working with the state of Illinois Supreme Court to put up a system called Research Illinois. Research Illinois will have images for all e-file cases out on its portal. And that's e-file cases for all clerk's offices around the state of Illinois. Once the criminal goes live, then images will be available on that portal as well. It won't be available on the clerk's office portal, but on Research Illinois, which is a system that the Supreme Court has created, is putting in place. And let me see what else they say here. Oh, I think that's basically what's being asked about from the standpoint of criminal. When will it be e-file? When can they see images? And yes, do you need a cover sheet for probate cases, Talitha?
No, ma'am.
The answer is no, Mark. How do you register to get on the portal? You can go on our website. You can go on the services. You can also go on the online services for, and there's a section for attorneys only. The first link there is the portal. And you can go all the way down to the bottom of the homepage under case search information. The last thing on the list is the CCC attorney portal. So there are three places where you can link to register for the licensed attorney portal for criminal.
And I have that linked in the slides as well, which I'll be sharing, and that has a couple of training videos in there as well.
Now, they also say that on our electronic docket, there's an error that comes up that says object reference not set to an instance of an object. I am not aware of that. We'll make a note of that and have our technology people to look into why that error occurs. As long as you are attempting to open something review something that is on our website, that should be on our website, a civil case and a document that's not a restricted document. If it's a restricted document, it's not going to show up, of course.
And Clerk, would you happen to know if there's going to be any kind of difference in timing for when the clerk's office opens and when the courts opens, when the general public can go in versus attorneys and legal staff? Any idea?
You know, I haven't, made that decision yet because, we're going to continue to have our services available, but it's going to really be, I'm sure Chief Judge Evans is going to be very careful in making his decision as to whether or not to open up the courts in general. And he'll be listening to the health professionals and that sort of thing. He does not have to base it upon the governor. The governor said April 30th, we're May 18th. We are a third branch of government, so it's based upon his decision and the health professionals. But then as it relates to the clerk's office, I have to protect my employees. And we obviously have a lot more foot traffic and people coming closer on us than the judiciary does. So I have to really, we'll open, but we may have a different kind of way that people are approaching our office. So and someone asked whether or not you'll be getting another notice by May 18th. Of course, everyone will all be waiting for the chief judge. I'm sure will be paying attention to the health professionals between now and probably April 30th. We'll have a pretty good idea as to whether or not May 18th is a reasonable date. So you guys can kind of pay attention to that. Keep an eye on our website, and we're all doing this in the best way that we possibly can to protect you, and of course to protect us and the employees as well.
Absolutely. Well, we're a little bit past the hour. Did you have any other questions, Marcus, from?
No, I believe all that I saw came in were covered at this point. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add, Tisha?
I think we're good. Clerk Brown, would it be okay if we had follow-up questions or something that we just can't find on the website? Can we follow up with you?
Absolutely. And someone asked about out-of-state summons. I wasn't sure what they were talking about, how out-of-state summonses are being handled. Not sure as it relates to that. But yes, absolutely. If there are follow-up questions, you can certainly send them to us and we'll get those answers to you. And then, of course, you can post them in whatever way you see fit to post them.
Great. Well, I'll be sure to collect a list of any additional questions and send that your way. But I wanted to thank everyone for attending. It's important that we get together as a community during these challenging times to support one another and to learn to navigate this new reality. So special thanks to Clerk Dorothy Brown and her staff and Tisha Delgado for joining us and taking the time to lead us through this important discussion.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you.
Of course. And if you're interested in CourtFiling.net and would like a demo, contact me at the information on the screen here. I have included Tisha's as well for those who are interested in the Chicago Paralegal Association. And again, thank you everyone for joining, and please stay safe during these challenging times.